Genesis chapter 2 verses 1 to 3. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. I've done a fair amount of painting and decorating over the years. There are parts of it that I enjoy, like wallpapering, and there are parts that I don't. But there is something special when it all comes together, as it usually does, and the job is done. It's finished. Although that is true at the time, I know that is probably not the last time that I'll actually have to decorate that room. Painting and decorating is never really finished. Now, we know from the rest of the Bible that the universe that God created at the beginning was not the final stage in God's great unfolding plan, but the first stage. We'll see in some of our following talks that although what God made was perfect and complete, very good, as we read in chapter 1, verse 31, it was a probationary universe. What we are reading in these verses is that that stage was finished, verse 1. The heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. Maybe that final phrase is an allusion to the angels, the heavenly host that is referred to in Luke chapter 2, verse 13. Notice in these verses the repetition of the phrase, which he had made, twice in verse 2. And then at the end of verse 3, which God created and made. This emphasizes to me that God's creative work was completed during creation week. There is no creation going on now. God created the physical universe out of nothing, and there is no more created matter or energy in the universe today. There's no more now than there was then. The Big Bang Theory argues for a balance in the universe between matter and what they call antimatter, but the universe gives no evidence of that, something to my mind that gives evidence of the Creator, which he had made. The point here, of course, is that following the 6 days of God's creation work, he rested. This is repeated elsewhere in the scriptures. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Exodus chapter 20. It was not that God was wearied with his work, but that he was establishing the principle of a day of rest every seventh day. He sanctified it, as verse 3 says. He set it apart as a day of rest, a day for refreshment, both spiritually and physically. I cannot think of this finished work without thinking of Christ's finished work of redemption. You'll remember that on the cross, he cried with a loud voice, John chapter 19, verse 30, "It is finished." His was a work that has been truly finished, never to be repeated. It is one sacrifice for sins forever, Hebrews chapter 10. It is the reason why God's final purpose will unshakably and unalterably be established. In Hebrews chapter 4, we're told that everyone who puts their trust in Christ is entered into God's rest, having ceased from his own works, his own attempts at salvation, as God did from his. So tomorrow we'll start to home in on God's creation of man.